a great contrast, right? You have the $19 million property on Oahu, which is absolutely, beyond stunning. And then you have the $2.9 million.
You're just going to pay that premium on the water. That's one thing. I mean, you can get very similar amenities and feel and stuff, but you're going to pay 100% more if it's sitting on oceanfront.
So now is this one oceanfront?
No, it's about a half mile off the ocean, but
okay.
Me personally, I really like these types of properties a little bit better because your views are way better, right? If you're propped up, if you're a little ways back on the big island, it's so steep, you could be at 400, 500 feet of elevation, like a half mile off the ocean, and then you get these dramatic sweeping views of the coastline. If you're on the ocean, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, but it's a much different view. You're like sitting at the beach and just looking out into the water. You don't get those kind of wide, big, open views. So.
I mean, yeah. So that's a really good point. I mean, they're both incredibly stunning in their own ways. I think there's another element too, which people take for granted. Is one of the really interesting things that I got. My wife is a native Cook Islander, and she was expressing to me that in Islander culture, especially sort of older Islander culture, the beach is not where you want to be. Nobody wanted to be near the beach. That's kind of where they would, bury dead bodies and, kind of junk area. The place where you want to be is sort of up in the mountains where, number one, you can grow food. And number two, when those good old, when those tidal waves come in and hurricanes, et cetera, you're not out in front. It's only the European the European person who wants this sort of beachfront property. Interestingly enough, my wife's father was one of the first white guys that went to the Cook Islands, and he took out a lease on one of the most incredible beachfront places you could ever imagine, and they all thought he was crazy. And today that place has become a resort. So there you go.
And temperature, right? If you live at a little bit of elevation, you'll never need air conditioning. If you're on the water, it's going to be hot. So that's
a little bit cooler. A little bit cooler. Yeah. Yeah. Scott?
Well, and all beaches are state-owned land here, so you there's a privacy element that you can actually lose.
Good point.
Yeah,
so go on that,
you
Scott.
constantly get people coming in front of your house, so therefore you lose a little bit of the privacy component if that's important for you.
Thank you, Scott, for bringing that up. There's an issue in Hawaii where there's no such thing as a private beach. Private beaches do not exist in Hawaii. Anyone has the right to walk on the beach. Certainly if they're coming from
40 feet above the high water mark.
40 feet above the high water mark.
Yep.
All right. 40 feet above the high water mark. And so to Scott's point, so you've got people that are, you got this incredible okay, I just had a funny thought over here. So Scott, I'm imagining, you wake up in the morning, and you see this your beautiful bedroom, and you look out this beautiful bedroom of this $19 million house, and there's like a half a dozen people kind of throwing a beach ball in front of your bedroom there, and they could all do it legally. So there you go. Anyway, but that's true. Yeah. So you have that's another consideration of why kind of being further up in the mountains is, for many people more desirable, but you can't beat beachfront.
So I had a client one time where people kept coming in front of their house over there. So they put drip lines down and planted an alpaca out further. So the alpaca all grew in all thick. So people couldn't, for one, it gave them a little privacy barrier, and it gave them a little beach area in front of their property, which is totally not legal. But then it forced people to go around, and they stopped coming in front of their house. They kind of basically took over the space, and it was not very well liked by a lot of local people.
Yeah, that stuff. We definitely we do not like that when we see it. And there was another incident I remember in our neighborhood where somebody put a no trespassing sign just at the right spot where you can misinterpret it to mean that you can't go on the beach, right? And man, that just caused an up. I mean, we had people with torches and pitchforks at the neighborhood board meeting showing up about that, and rightly so. I mean, I think it's a cool thing that Hawaii beaches are. You cannot have a private beach in Hawaii. Thank God. I mean, because could you imagine if we did? If you could, right? Okay, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about. If there would have been private beaches, there would not be beaches for anyone. They would have all been bought off. So thank God that we have that that element. But there's an exception. Patrick brought it up, except for military beaches. Yes, yeah, except for military beaches. But except for military beaches. There's always an exception, right, Dylan? Except for military beaches. But there's a good, quote unquote, there's a national reason for that. I think when Obama used to come here during his Christmas thing, he used to kind of go and this place in Kailua that was right next to a military installation. And I think there was a by design. All right, so a couple of follow-ups over here. So Joan gives her mahalo to everybody who's given her good advice. Another one from Auntie Joyce. Joan recommends shipping the car. Very expensive to buy here, and inventory is low. Joan, I hope you didn't sell your car. That's actually good advice. Dylan had mentioned that as a while ago as well. Cars here are, because of the whole car shortage thing and that whole messed up market, chip shortage, etc., is kind of screwing up cars and screwing up that market. Joan, if you could ship your car if it's possible, but then again, you got to have a place to put it when you get here. And Ron talks about salt spray. Yeah, Ron, that's another good point. Salt spray. And I remember I had some friends on the North Shore, and they were telling me that they would buy computers and they would have to have them inside the house with like air conditioned climate control. I'm like, what are you doing this for? He goes, oh well, because the computer won't last a year in the salt spray, right? It just kind of goes